I'm from Dubuque, and right now the issue of the day is taxing the rich. And our side is badly losing that battle for the obvious reason that only a small percentage of the population is rich. However, we've unilaterally disarmed because the cruelest tax is raging and it's destroying the 98% of the public that's not rich. And the cruelest tax is inflation. Now, we have 10,000 baby boomers a day retiring. And it's going to go on for the next 19 years. Millions are starting to wake up and realize they can't afford to retire. Therefore, they're going to keep working if they're lucky enough to have jobs. 12 years ago, if you were 53 years old and you had an average middle-class nest egg of $100,000 and you responsibly put it in a low-cost index fund, that fund would be worth $95,000 today nominally. The market is down about 5% in 12 years. However, we're continually told that inflation is benign. It's no issue. Yet we've had, over those 12 years, 35% inflation. So that $100,000 today has a purchasing power of $60,000. People don't realize these things because America is a nation of economic illiterates, and you are needed to spell out these things to the public, to be national tutor. And I think you could make history today and put Dubuque on the map as a first step by calling for Chairman Bernanke's resignation, replaced with a hawk. Now, what is destroying people? We're told right now that inflation is only 3.8%. Well, you know better than anybody, they've changed the methodology so many times, that it's really 5, 6, 7%. And there's no returns. So everyone's savings and standard of living, except maybe the 2 or 3% highest net worth income earners, are being destroyed. Yet we're told inflation's benign, it's no issue. Luminaries like Paul Krugman and Ken Rogoff come out and say, step up the inflation, inflate the debt away. And nobody stands up. So will you come out and say that the cruelest tax is being instilled, imposed on 98% of people? Don't worry about those 2%.
Absolutely, and I think I've mentioned that view a few times already, but I want to tell you, it's just too bad that the average congressman doesn't understand it as well as you do, because they don't understand it and they're not concerned about it. And on national television, in the debates, maybe not this go around, but once before, they ask about taxes, and I mentioned this, it is a tax. They claim, well, poor people don't pay taxes, but they do. It's an inflation tax. What about the elderly that are living off, you indicate how you can have your savings wiped out. What about the elderly that are trying to make it on their Social Security check? Their cost of living goes up. Their standard of living is going down right now. And your point about prices, the government lies to us. There's about 15 years ago, 19 years ago, they had a different CPI measurement, but it looked like it was too much inflation. So did they cut out the inflation? No, they changed how they calculated it. And they're going to do it again. That's to make sure that those who are getting Social Security checks don't get any boost. So that is the way they cut benefits, and yet, nominally they don't cut it, but in reality they do. So it's very cruel. This is why I have been talking about the Federal Reserve for 30-some years, because it causes our problems, our malinvestment. It is a tax, because if you run up the debt and then you just print the money, it hurts the people because it dilutes the value of your money. And the worst part about the inflation is everybody doesn't get punished the same way. Overall, the middle class suffers more, but Mises, the great Austrian economist, said that the system, that a government that destroys the value of its money wipes out the middle class. And what is happening to our middle class now is being wiped out. But the wealth is transferred from the poor and the middle class to the wealthy. So just think of the bailout I talked about on housing. The middle class got wiped out, but the people in Wall Street got bailed out. So that is a key issue. And, well, you know, you want me to come out against Bernanke. I come out against him every time he comes to the financial services, but Greenspan as well. But I also make the point that the most important thing we do is get a complete audit of the Fed, because eventually what we want to do is replace the Fed with honest money and not allow them to print the money. But getting rid of Bernanke, but what if Obama, what if we got rid of him now and then Obama put in Krugman or something?
You have to demand a hawk.
Well, you know, if you, okay, just very briefly though on the hawk business, the one person, and I mentioned in my book about the Federal Reserve that the person that I got along with best was Paul Volcker.
And
so he's a reasonable person,
yes,
and if you didn't want to close the Fed down in 1 week, working with a guy like Paul Volcker would make more sense than Bernanke.
So are you promoting Paul Volcker to replace Bernanke today?
No, I'm not. I'm just going to stick with what I said. I want the Fed exposed and get rid of it.
My name is Rocky Yanakouros from Dubuque, Iowa here. First of all, I'd like to thank you for defending the Constitution relentlessly. My question today is about general defense and common welfare of the United States. What will you do as president to help defend Iowans against climate disasters like we've recently had in Cedar Rapids and a small one here in Dubuque recently?
You're talking about the floods? You know, in some ways, the federal government's been involved in that for a long time. I live on the coast, and we're more involved with disasters. You have them, and you get tornadoes, but we get hurricanes, and and I have 200 and some miles on the Gulf Coast. But I don't accept the idea that the federal government can protect me down there, because what we put up with FEMA and these other organizations, our people have grown to really become pretty disgusted with them, because FEMA and all the programs of the federal government, they say that you can have insurance and we're going to protect you, but actually FEMA's broke. They get in your way, and even when we tried, when there was a lot of voluntary people going to New Orleans, you know, for Katrina, it was such waste. You know, the people who were volunteered were turned away, mismanagement. And I don't think you want that. Even though on the surface it sounds like, oh yes, pretty good. You know, let's get them in here and do something. So this whole idea about FEMA insurance, flood insurance. I had a house right on the Gulf of Mexico. You don't buy private insurance, because you know why we can't get private insurance? Because people said it was too expensive. Well, why was it too expensive? Because it was dangerous. And when you get somebody that doesn't live on the Gulf Coast, if somebody in Arizona pays for the flood insurance, then we build houses on the Gulf Coast. So it encourages you to do the wrong thing. So for natural disasters, I think it would be nice to make sure our Guard units and our reserve units were within our state, so they could come out, they could help on rescue operations. I think there should be a reassessment of the long-term planning of what our federal money has been spent for. You know, the erosion of our beaches in Texas come related to jetties that they built many years ago. So many federal projects have you know, caused some of our problems. There probably are some rare circumstances, especially when you're in a river that runs interstate, different things like this. Some of the things have to be worked out. But many times interstate cooperation can solve those problems, and you don't need huge federal bureaucracies to occur. But the most acute thing, you know, when the hurricane went up into Vermont, these places, rescue operations. And too often, the rescue, you know, Katrina, there were Guard units that would have been available, but they were over there fighting these useless wars overseas. So we could do a lot better, but I wouldn't place a lot of dependency on the federal government.
Thanks for being here this afternoon, Dr. Paul. My name is Justin Jensen. I'm from Cedar Falls and also working Black Hawk County Coordinator for your campaign. My question is just about Commissioner Kelly of the New York Police Department recently said that they have the ability to shoot down planes, and also they're working with the CIA. Does that violate the Constitution and posse comitatus? Thank you.
Sounds to me like it is. It sounds to me like it's very, I think we're going to do away with this. Sounds to me like it's done on very bad judgment, obviously, and I would consider that unconstitutional. Now, what the city person does seems so outrageous. I don't want the federal government telling every police department exactly what they can do or can't do. But since the CIA is involved, I would say that's a federal function. It would be absolutely unconstitutional. This is more or less the shooting down an airplane is sort of, I think that's overstepping their judgment. You know, judge and jury and it's an assassination. But of course, if we're honest with ourselves, that's our policy in this country. Under this president, it has been changed to assassinating American citizens. And without charges made, not going to court, and that they can be targeted for assassination. And this is you know, worldwide. The CIA is now building these bases all around the world for sending off these drones. And these drones are always going to get bad people. Of course, they think they're bad people. They think they're only going to get a bad person, but they kill innocent people. Then they wonder why do people, you know, get angry at us? And you know, I apply the golden rule to that, and some people don't think it's fair. But why can't we apply the rule? How would we react if somebody did that to us? So I think you're on the right track of that. It's a bad sign, and hopefully we don't allow that to stand.
Hi, Dr. Paul. Thank you for fighting for our liberties for decades. My name's Tony Gatto. I just wanted to ask you, you're not considering Ben Bernanke for your running mate?
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to pick Ben Bernanke. So we'd like to put him on, make him unemployed.
Congressman Paul, one more quick question.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Paul. I'm glad to meet you. Thank you for coming out here. My name is Diane Kennecker. I'm from Rockford, Illinois. You talk about states' rights. You know, what's it going to take to repeal the amendment of how we to elect senators? Because the way I see it, directly voting for our senators has stripped away state rights.
I'd agree. She's talking about the 17th Amendment. When there was a lot of respect for states, when there was a lot more respect for states' rights, the two senators were sent there to protect the states and represent the states, and they were to be elected by the legislatures. And if you're a true believer in the original intent and states' rights, you would support that. But I find it fascinating that you asked the question and there's more interest in this. Most people know about the 16th Amendment, we'd like to get rid of that. But the 17th Amendment, you'd have to repeal the 17th Amendment is what you would have to do. And I would support that. I don't talk a lot about it because I have a few other things on my plate right now. As soon as we get rid of the Fed and bring our troops home and have a sound monetary policy, then we'll work on it. But you're right. I think it's something we should think about. It's very symbolic of the gravitation of power away from the states to the federal level. Thank you very much.